Hello guys, so this is my first video for the channel, and today we are going to talk about the topics which are not listed in FA but they're important. As I was doing UWORLD questions, I found many questions regarding these topics and I couldn't find them in the FA, so I thought that I should share these topics with you guys. The first of these topics being rhabdomyolysis. Now, when we are talking about this particular disease, we see a stem with a history of crash injury or prolonged muscle activity like seizures or marathon running, or a history of drug use like statins, amphetamines, and heroin. How I like to approach these particular questions is I look for this particular clue written over here. They tell you that the urine is positive for blood on the dipstick, but there are no RBCs found on the microscopy. So whenever I find this particular clue, I am almost always sure that this is rhabdomyolysis. So what's the pathophysiology of the disease? Let's talk about that. So whenever there is a crash injury or prolonged muscle activity or drug use like statins, the muscle is going to get injured. And as we know that the muscle contains myoglobin and electrolytes, so when the muscle will be injured, all of this myoglobin and electrolytes will be spilled into the blood.
Now, kidney being the detoxifier of the body, what it does is it filters all of the blood containing this myoglobin and electrolytes. Here I'd like to give you guys a concept that glomerulus freely filters the small proteins and the polypeptides, and myoglobin is one of the small proteins which can be passed through the glomerulus. So the thing here is that the small polypeptides like insulin, when they are freely filtered in the glomerulus, they're reabsorbed in the PCT and they're degraded in the proximal convoluted tubules. The byproducts are reabsorbed back into the blood. But here in the case of myoglobin, when it's filtered in the glomerulus and it's degraded in the PCT, the end product of the myoglobin degradation is heme, which is a toxic compound which causes acute tubular necrosis. Obviously it causes renal failure and an increased in creatinine level will be seen. Other things which you want to look for in the stem are muddy granular casts in the urine, increased potassium levels and phosphate levels, obviously due to the spillage from the injured myocytes, along with metabolic acidosis and hypocalcemia. You will also find an increased creatinine kinase level. Creatinine kinase is found in the muscle mass, so when muscle will be broken down, so you'll find elevated creatinine kinase. The last thing I want to hammer home before I wrap up this video is the reason for why in rhabdomyolysis the dipstick is positive for blood but there are no RBCs on microscopy. The reason for this particular thing is that the dipstick checks for heme. As we know that heme is found in hemoglobin and heme is also found in myoglobin. So whenever there is myoglobin in the urine, the dipstick mistakes it for hemoglobin. So that's why it's positive for blood, that is positive for heme technically, but there are no RBCs found in the microscopy. So I hope you guys learned a few things from this video. Thank you so much.